Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we'll have a look at how you can use certain Databricks CLI commands to add an existing workflow that you have created manually into your Databricks Asset Bundle. The problem we are going to solve today is if we have a bundle, let's say that contains a workflow A, and we also have some other maybe manually created workflows, let's call that workflow B, and we actually want to add the workflow B into our already existing bundle. How do we do that? That's the topic of today. So let's dive in. All right. So the first thing we will do is to deploy our existing Databricks Asset Bundle. Once that has been deployed, we can have a look at the workflow and we can see that we have our bundle files in our workspace. Now, let's say we have made some manual work in the Databricks UI and that we have created a notebook, that in this case notebook 2, that we want to set up as a workflow. Then we can go to the workflows tab and then we can press create workflow, and then we can give it a name. We give the task that runs the notebook a name, and we can set the location of the. So in this case, this is just a file I've created locally within the workspace. So this is not associated to our current Databricks Asset Bundle in any way. We set up a smaller cluster. And we can create the task. We can have a look at the workflow that we have created called job 2. And if we want to add this manually created workflow, how do we do that? Well, Databricks CLI has some commands that we can make use of. There's one command called Databricks Bundle generate job, where we need to use the existing job ID. So place where you find that for our newly created workflow is you just enter it and then you can find the job ID here. Let's insert that and let's run this command. What this command does is basically create a couple of files in the resources folder and the source folder. So this file here has just been generated. So this is basically the definition of the workflow, and we see there's a notebook path, and the second file that has been created is this notebook 2 Python file. So this was also one that only existed in the workspace just before, but now we have a copy within our code base. So that's basically a way to add an existing workflow to your bundle. And we can have a look at the summary. So let's run this and we can see now in our bundle we actually have 2 jobs. We have the my first project job and we have the job 2, but it's also stating that it's not deployed yet. We can try to deploy it and see what happens. Let's go to the workflows tabs, and what we can see is the job 2 still exists in 2 versions now. So this is the one that has been created by our bundle deploy command, and the other one we had is the one that was created manually just before. It could be the case that we do not really want this behavior, that we just want to have one workflow existing. So let's try to restart the process here. So I will just remove our newly added workflow and show a slightly different way to add the workflow, also using Databricks CLI commands. So let's have a look in the workflows again. So I've just removed the workflow that we just added, but we still have the one we created manually. Let's go back to VS Code, and then we basically redo what we did before. So we will generate a job. So this will again create the 2 files, the job YAML file and the notebook source file. And then the next command we will make use of is Databricks Bundle Deployment Bind. And what that does is basically to take the manually created workflow that we have in our workspace and actually bind it to the code that we have here. So we take the name here within the resources job 2, and then we go to the workflow and refer to the job ID again. And this will basically bind the actually created workflow with our Databricks Asset Bundle. So let's run this command. Once that is done, we can validate our bundle and check that that is okay. And we can also have a look at the summary. And again, we can see that we have 2 jobs within our projects. Job 2, in this case, does not have the status that it is not deployed, so it actually have an URL. So this is basically the difference that we have, that job 2 here is now actually connected to our code. So if we perform a Databricks bundle deploy now, then we can see that instead of creating a new workflow, it actually updates the existing workflow. So now we just have 2 workflows, and those are both governed by the Databricks Asset Bundle. As usual, we would like to clean up after ourselves in the end. So we run the Databricks Bundle destroy command. Once the bundle has been destroyed, we can have a look in the UI. Let's go to workflows and verify that both the existing and the new workflow has been deleted. We can also go into our bundle folder here and see that all the files has been deleted there as expected. What we have seen today is how to use the generate job and deployment bind commands in the Databricks CLI. We saw that if we only was using generate job, then if we wanted to add an existing workflow into a bundle, then the behavior was that it would basically create a copy of that workflow. So that would generate additional workflows when we use the Databricks bundle deploy command. If we, on top of the generate job, also use the deployment bind command, then we could actually bind the external workflow B and make the bundle actually, instead of creating a new workflow, just override the existing workflow B. Alright, that's it for today. I hope you now have the tools so that you in the future can add your manually created workflows into your existing Databricks asset bundles. Worth noting is that this does not only hold for workflows, but can also be used for pipelines and dashboards and other types of assets in Databricks. So see you in the next video.